All right, yeah, good morning. My name is Jeff Orrock. I'm the meteorologist in charge here at the National Weather Service office in Wakefield, sitting in for Katie this morning, who's doing some planning for the governor's inauguration coming up this Saturday. And we'll talk a little bit about that if folks are interested in the weather for the weekend as we get closer into the inaugural events coming up. So we'll hit that at the very end. But we'll get right into the weather briefing for this week. It's been kind of interesting watching where it might snow, where it might not snow. Models have been back and forth, so we'll kind of walk right through that right now. There are going to be a few chances for some snow, basically mid to late week, so we'll hit that. Western Virginia looks like the best chance if you want to see some snow. I'm going to have to head out to far Western Virginia, most likely. And like I said, we're going to talk about the temperatures and the weather there for the inauguration day. I'm going to go ahead and skip this and kind of get right on into the weather pattern for this week. It is going to be seasonably cool. Winter is coming back, and we're going to get, again, this returning series of cold fronts that's kind of just going to keep barreling through here, over the next several days. And so the bottom line is going to be, are we going to be able to line up the cold air and maybe a system coming up from the south? We're going to be able to get a linkage here in the next 2 weeks that could potentially bring us maybe, a couple snow events. And that's kind of the big question mark. And typically, as it always is, the models are in a little bit disagreement, as far as, when that linkage might occur and when it might not occur. And what I'll do is I'll kind of step through the weather pattern here and what's going on. Let's go ahead and start with today. This is this afternoon. So we really obviously have some strong high pressure over us, really clearing out after some of those little weird grapple showers and even some snow squalls in the west yesterday. That's all pushed way offshore. High pressure is really kind of in control. It's a seasonably cool high pressure system, but nothing too extreme. As we get into tomorrow morning, you kind of see the weather pattern really hasn't changed that much. We'll probably be a little bit warmer tomorrow. This is as the high just kind of starts to warm up a little bit, kind of moderates, but you do see the next system starting to kind of drop in here on the northwest side of the Great Lakes coming out of Canada. That's starting to kind of drop to the south and east. So this has come Tuesday morning. By the time we get into Wednesday morning, you really start to see now that system that was kind of northwest of the Great Lakes, that cold front starting to push in through the Ohio River Valley and even getting into western Tennessee and Kentucky. And you're really seeing two fronts here. The initial front is really that initial surge of cooler air. And that secondary front back here, I mean, if you follow these lines back here, they go straight up almost into the Arctic there. Let me get back to Wednesday morning. So that's going to be a pretty good shot of really cold air. We'll say it's kind of like an Arctic air mass coming down from Canada. So definitely see this 1-2 punch of cool air that's going to be coming through later on. For us, you also see a little area of low pressure forming here off of basically Savannah, Georgia. And so the question starts to become, as this cold air rushes down and this low pressure system starts to form along the coast and move to the north and east, where do these systems link up? And that will be the difference between maybe getting some rain and some folks maybe getting a little bit of snow. So we go into time, through ahead in time, and it's going to be a little bit of a big jump. This was Wednesday morning. You get into Thursday morning, you see, yeah, it's a big jump. So obviously this is kind of a Wednesday night into Thursday kind of a thing where now both cold fronts have blown through that low pressure system. Kind of, you notice it went from Georgia basically on Wednesday morning, all the way up here, really almost to New England by Thursday morning. So really moving along quickly, lifting up to the north. And it's going to throw a little bit of moisture back to the west to hit that cold air. And so we do think we'll see some snow. This is probably a little overdone. I think most of the snow accumulation is going to be in far western Virginia, which we'll talk about. But there could be a few little flurries or a few little some light snow there, getting into especially Thursday night into early Friday morning. But by the time we push into Friday, that system's really gone. And here comes another one dropping down across the Great Lakes. And you see these lines here behind this system go right back up to basically the Arctic. So going to see some reoccurring shots of some pretty cold air coming through. And this system you're seeing here, this is valid Friday morning. We have high pressure, but with this system coming down, we're going to have to watch this and see if it causes us some issues maybe late this weekend. Probably not until Sunday and maybe a little bit into Monday. Here's Saturday. It does look like for the most part, Commonwealth will be fairly dry Saturday, maybe some light snow showers late in the day in the far west. on late Saturday. But for most of it, it's going to be okay. There is this cold front that's going to sneak through in the afternoon. Again, it's another 1-2 punch of cold air where you get this initial front that pushes through, probably sometime Saturday afternoon, brings us a little bit of cooler air. And then all of a sudden, this secondary front comes through later on that evening with the really, really strong punch of cold air. So again, another 1-2 punch of cold air coming in later this weekend. As we push into Sunday, you can really start to see both those fronts have moved through, and we got, again, low pressure system forming over the Great Lakes. So fairly active pattern, kind of interesting, typical kind of La Nina pattern here. And it's just going to be a matter of right now if any of the moisture can basically catch up with the cold air and they can link up. But we're going to have to watch out what's going on here over the course of the next, I'd say almost probably 2 weeks. We may be in this kind of a pattern here. We'll have to keep an eye on it. This is the official snow forecast as of right now. This takes us through 7 a.m. Thursday, and it captures most of the event really for the western areas. So you kind of see here some of the elevations, especially once you get 81 west, might see a little bit of light snow. Some places might be able to get maybe upwards of 1 to maybe even 2 inches of snow, in the darker blues right here. We'll see how that plays out. Could be some minor travel issues, but nothing. This does not look like a big snow event by any means, but basically some accumulation west of Roanoke and maybe just west of 81 here. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but just some light snow. And this is that system that's really going to be Wednesday and into Thursday. I think we probably could see a few little bit of a light snow showers here in central Virginia, depending on the model you pick. Here for late Thursday and early Friday. And this doesn't go out that far, but we're not really expecting much accumulation. This is what this is showing. So this is the probability of seeing any type of minor impact from snow. And so in the west, you have this area here that we actually could see some travel issues over western Virginia. That's really geared more towards Wednesday into early Thursday out here. But for the rest of central Virginia, it kind of plastered this really low probability, almost 15% probability or less, that we could see some minor travel impacts. That's basically saying, could you get some really low amounts of snow accumulation? So the probability is 15% or less. So we're not too excited about this right now. I think there is a good chance, especially over northern Virginia, that you could see some snowfall. And this would be Thursday night. This would be actually Thursday afternoon into Thursday night, maybe early Friday, depending on the timing, that you could see a little bit of light snow up here. It's just questionable if we're really going to get much accumulation. The models right now are trending to dry things out. I'd say that if you're going to see some light snow, it's probably a better chance in the mountains here. You kind of see a little bit of the brighter blue here over parts of his Harrisonburg area up towards Warrenton here maybe. But a lot of us, really in that pretty low probability. Even though we might see a little bit of snow, it's not going to cause any issues. And right now the model trend has been drier over most of the Commonwealth. But in far western Virginia, there's pretty good confidence here we're going to get some snow accumulation that might cause some issues, just some minor travel issues as we get into that. Again, that's that Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, where the rest of Virginia is really more like that Thursday night timeframe into early Friday. So this is kind of just a quick glance at everything, but you definitely notice, we're colder right now than we were this weekend, and we're kind of more seasonable temperatures for the most part, for today, generally in the 40s. And we actually do warm up a little bit Tuesday and Wednesday into the 50s. But then we talked about that 1-2 punch of cold air that comes in about Thursday, and you really see these temperatures really dropping. In fact, by Friday, these are high temperatures. So we're pretty much back down into the mostly in the 30s with a few high temperatures in the 40s. And these low temperatures, once you get past Thursday, they're really dropping. So we're talking about teens and 20s. And notice how they come in and they stay in for quite some time. Remember, we got that first cold surge coming in Thursday. That's going to be bringing some snow. Very low chances. And then we got another good shot of that cold air coming in later in the weekend. And so that's really keeping these temperatures down and pretty cold. So again, we just have to watch out with temperatures getting this cold if we can get the moisture to link up over the course of the next week or so. Right now, we're not seeing any major systems on the horizon, but again, the models right now are all over the place from run to run as far as what may be happening. I'd say late weekend and beyond. I think we have good confidence going through Saturday. As you get past that, I'd say the confidence right now is pretty low, other than the fact that it will be cold. It's just a matter of if we can get any moisture anywhere. Let me back up because I didn't show this. I want to make sure I show this for This is really kind of our simulated radar, and this is kind of neat. This is a blend of models, so it's not taking any one model. It's taking a bunch of models and kind of mixing them together and kind of coming up with an average of how things might look in the future. And so as we go ahead in time, see, this is Wednesday morning. Things could start out as a little bit of light rain. This is actually Wednesday afternoon, and you kind of start to see it getting into Western Virginia here as rain. But then as Wednesday goes on and we get into Wednesday evening, you definitely start to see things turning blue. And so this is about 4 in the morning here on Thursday. And so you kind of see the average here, showing that we're going to see some snow west of Roanoke, and you see the darker blues over Western Virginia, where you might be able to see some snow rates to get us some accumulations out there, and that's why you see the pretty good probability of at least some minor travel issues out in this part of the Commonwealth, where the rest of us looks like we're going to stay really mostly rain. That snow kind of continues on even into Thursday. That's Thursday at 1 p.m. And eventually everything kind of just dries out. You see everything kind of disappears as you push it into basically early Friday and Friday afternoon. You don't see a lot of blue here over central Virginia, mainly in the mountains here. Maybe you get some snow here on Thursday, but you notice for us, the probabilities are pretty low. It's going to be rain. Maybe you see a little bit of a light blue shading here. It might end as a little bit of light snow, and then it's pretty much gone. So really, this does a really good job, I think, right now highlighting the fact that Western Virginia here, and this is Thursday at 7 a.m., this is where you might see some of the better snowfall, at least as far as this first round goes, and much less probability here across really most of the rest of the Commonwealth east of the mountains. Much less probability. Here's the actual hourly forecast out there for our friends in far Western Virginia. So main thing I want to highlight here, it does start as rain here on Wednesday. So if you look Wednesday, we jump up to a 70% chance of rain out there in the far western part of Virginia, and the temperature is in the mid 40s. But then we drop into the basically low 20s overnight Wednesday night, and that's where we change over to snow, and then pretty good chance of snow Thursday, and the high out in Western Virginia only 26. And then the snow will taper off, and then Thursday night the low's 11. So that's a pretty good cold air mass coming in with this system. So that's kind of the timing there in far western Virginia there, near just east of Tazewell there. Kind of gives you an idea of the timing. Looking ahead, like I said, we just kind of alluded to this a little bit, the fact that this pattern really isn't changing over the next 2 weeks, and so the probability that we're going to be below normal temperatures is pretty strong. We're seeing a decent signal that a lot of the south and southeast are going to see below normal temperatures at least for the next 10 days, maybe even the next 2 weeks. This is a little trickier on the right-hand side, the probability of precipitation. On average, right now, the way the systems are tracking, will be below normal precipitation. It's not a strong signal, and it doesn't mean you won't get some snow, but on average, over the next 6 to 10 days, we're probably going to stay a little bit drier than normal, and that's not going to help the drought a whole lot. But even though we may see a little bit of snow, we're not expecting much precipitation, at least through the next 10 days. So very strong. It's a stronger signal we're going to be cold. Less of a signal that it's going to be dry, but we'll see. Right now, things are trending drier than wetter, so we'll see how that goes. Look at the space weather side. We call it the space weather website. It looks like there may have been a little bit of a coronal mass ejecta. I'll kind of go back here and let this play right there. And I think that would have been back on, it wasn't directed at us. Let me see if I can pause this and just go back and forth. So yeah, right in there, back on the 12th, and that would have been 0Z. So that would have been last night. Looks like there was a little bit of obviously an ejecta there, but I think it actually kind of was not directed at the Earth, so it kind of missed us. And right now, I think things are, well, they have us in R1 and G1 minor, and that was for the last 24 hours, but everything green for today on the space weather side. So there was some activity, but it looks like it actually stayed away from us, and right now everything's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.